Hello and welcome to bonus episode number 19 of the Book Wars Pod. I'm Kate and I'm here with Chris and Miranda, and we are having a time with the audio, but you know, it's whatever. It's super cool.
Yeah, that's what happens when we record without Kristen.
It's true.
Promised me that everything was fine, and then she left.
I mean, the lesson, as always, is never listen to Kristen.
I mean, that's accurate.
Well, I couldn't hear myself at first, and so that's when we turned my gain all the way up. And I was like, oh, I can hear myself now.
Maybe you could, I don't know.
I don't know how it works.
That's weird. Seems fake, but that's fine. So we are allegedly discussing Vader Immortal episode 1, which is the VR experience that came out recently for the Oculus Quest and Rift. And Chris, can you please tell the nice people? I think you've told this story before, but in case people have forgotten, can you please tell the nice story of how he wound up getting an Oculus?
Oh, sure. I mean, you know, I wanted one from hearing about this. Y'all know that I love Darth Vader.
No. I mean the funny story.
No,
not
I know.
Okay.
I thought it was just going to end at I wanted one.
Oh, no.
I mean,
Which would have been a great story. Like, I'm not here to judge.
Tell it quickly. I don't know what Miranda's drinking.
So I wanted one, but but they're like fucking expensive. But then like 2 weeks before it came out, I got like a random insurance check from when a drunk driver hit my car.
Oh, from your
6 months back.
Fraud?
Yeah.
It's absolutely not what it was. It was an insurance error in my favor. Monopoly rule says that's my money.
My God.
Anyway, they sent me money that they probably shouldn't have, but then I had it.
And so he did. So Chris and I both played it. Miranda had played it when she came to visit DC back when we were living there, and so we're going to talk about it. But
yeah. Before
we do that, Miranda, what are you drinking?
Oh, I'm just drinking Rainier. I'm not having a classy evening.
I mean, we're not terribly exciting over here. Well, I guess Chris is exciting. Chris, what are you drinking?
I mean, honestly, I kind of wanted beer, but we don't have any. I'm drinking my Arete Tequila Blanco.
Honestly, the fact that we don't have beer in the fridge right now when we now live in Colorado is a joke.
Yeah, and yet we've got like 9 bottles of hard liquor downstairs.
You should be ashamed of yourselves.
I know.
We'll fix it. Listen, we moved this month. Money's a little tight. It'll be fine.
That's a big mood.
That's why we have 9 bottles of hard alcohol, but no beer, because that makes sense.
Yeah, sure. Who says no?
It's fine. To be fair, I'm not even drinking because I'm like, my brain is trying to kill me with a migraine. So I'm drinking some fucking CBD tea. So that's fine. It tastes like tropical green tea.
Ooh.
There is no THC in here, so no, I'm not getting high, unfortunately for everybody.
That could be fun though.
So, I mean, it is legal here. I can do whatever the fuck I want now. Ha ha.
It's
fuck
true.
you, federal government. That'll probably happen at some point, but not today. Should we discuss the Star War?
Star War.
I mean, I'm just like, wait, what do you mean we didn't just go on a tangent for like 15 fucking minutes at the top of the episode?
What's the missing link here?
It's freaking me out.
Do you want me to read you the description of my beer?
Yes.
Do
that.
I mean,
Actually,
it's a
I don't know
Rainier.
if there
Does
is
it have
one.
a description?
I can't even read in this light. This room is not very well lit.
Can't even read beer.
Did you guys just like create a dungeon in your house? Because I feel like you're in a completely new room.
There
where
are
you usually
no
record.
overhead lights in our downstairs area except in the kitchen. Actually, no, that's not correct. That is misleading. We don't have any overhead lights in the living room or the office. There's
That's
just
a mood.
like little lights on the wall. There's 2 in the office. Neither of them are close to where we have the desk.
Can't say anything. We have a similar situation going on.
What the fuck does this say?
We're just gonna keep letting this roll. We're not editing out the silence.
No, not
Right
at
to
all.
squinting.
Old aluminum. No, that's not what that word is.
What looks like aluminum?
Oh no, it is aluminum. Recyclable can. It's Mountain Fresh beer, naturally brewed, since 1878. There is no description.
Wow. So not only did that take a really long time to figure out, it was also not worth it.
I'm sorry, Chris. We learned
Much
that
like
it's
this podcast,
naturally
to be
brewed,
honest.
and that it's mountain fresh because it's rainier.
But is it as cold as the Rockies?
Okay, but it's in a
No,
recycled
because
can.
Mount Rainier is not in the fucking Rockies.
Yes. Thank you, Miranda, for that geography lesson.
I'm here to help.
Mm-hmm.
The more you know. There's your
That's
Jesus.
our geography lesson of the day.
fucking god. I'm actually miserable at geography, so I can't even say anything. Also, this is what we do on Friday nights. We read beer cans that tell us nothing and talk about mountains.
Yeah, we spend like 2 hours cooking when it was not supposed to take that long.
What do you mean we?
It's your own fault you can't make your damn beans, man.
You know what?
Beans, the musical fruit.
Oh my god. Whatever. I made some delicious chili, and now Kate can't have any.
Oh
Yeah.
my
That's rude,
god!
Yeah.
I don't want
Remember how you were asking for the cornbread?
See, I don't want
Remember that?
Oh my god. This is abuse. Okay,
That's a
not
fancy
funny,
ass dinner for a Friday.
Well, I'm big on like meal planning, so I just made like a giant ass pot, and now I'm gonna eat it for the next week.
Good.
And today happened to be the day where I ran out of the last giant ass thing I made. Ergo, chili.
Hey Chris,
Sup?
you wanna talk about Darth Vader?
No.
Yeah, Chris
That-
hates
Oh,
Just
that's
kidding. I
fair.
always want to talk about Darth Vader.
That's an absolute lie.
Right. All right. So a
so-
little background on Vader Immortal.
Yeah, I was gonna say, can you? So we don't talk about the Marvel comics on this podcast because Marvel can suck my dick.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. So there's a big butt, and this is where big butt. Lord. This is. Oh my God.
I'd apologize for being like this, but I'm not sorry.
no, you're
Yeah,
not.
no,
Absolutely
you're not. This is where the whole everything is connected, but we hate one of the publishers thing comes back to bite us, because we, as older listeners know, and newer listeners may have gathered or seen us tweet about, we don't talk about the Marvel comics on this podcast. We have in the past. It's just gotten to the point where the people in charge of the Marvel line and Marvel Comics in general, editor-in-chief C.B. Spolsky and senior editor Mark Panacea. I don't know if that's how you pronounce his name. So apologies to the asshole for mispronouncing his name.
Mr.
But
Panchetta, go on.
Mr. Panchetta, yes. They're not good people. They're extremely racist people. The Mark Panchetta is the one who fired Chuck Wendig off of writing Marvel Comics. C.B. Spolsky, in addition to being a comic skater, also spent many years pretending to be a Japanese person because to try and like get better jobs, and therefore stealing those jobs from actual Japanese people who are talented. And they responded by promoting him. So we don't read the Marvel comics. We're hoping one day that we will be able to, when those two people are not involved anymore. But the problem is that Marvel's actually doing some really interesting things. We just don't want to support them financially or encourage anybody else to support them financially.
Right. If you want to support the writers of those comics, they often write or have written for other imprints and storylines as well. So go buy those.
Yeah, or get these comics at the library.
Yes.
That's what I'm going to say.
yeah.
Libraries have trade paperbacks, and they will buy them if you request them. back to the actual point here. Vader Immortal takes place
I thought the point was a big butt.
relatively. Sorry.
Sorry, go on.
Vader Immortal takes place relatively soon after the end of the most recent Darth Vader ongoing run, which was entitled Darth Vader, Dark Lord of the Sith, and was written by Charles Soule. It's a story of basically picks up right at the end of Revenge of the Sith with Vader waking up in his suit, and lasts about a year or two ish after the Empire is created, and kind of goes through Vader's evolution. Oh my god.
Chris, would you like to read?
Miranda just added the following notes to the outline. I'm going to read them verbatim. Point, big butt Vader. Subpoint, he thick. Thank you, Miranda, for your contribution here.
I provide a very interesting perspective on all things Star Wars.
She sure do. Oh my god.
Anyway, Charles Soule wrote an incredible comic run that I wish we could discuss on the podcast because it really adds just so much depth to Darth Vader and to Anakin, and kind of shows you how difficult the transition from being Anakin Skywalker to being Darth Vader is, because we haven't really seen that side. I highly encourage people to go get it from your library. It's 4 trade paperbacks. It's not that long. I think it's 25 issues. It's incredible. The illustrations are incredible. Go get it from your library. Go borrow it from a friend. Get it in some way that Marvel doesn't get any money for it. But to talk about Vader Immortal, we need to talk about that comic. So we're going to do that. If you haven't read it, then maybe go read it and come back to this if you care about spoilers. So the ending of that story, I promise this is not going to be a whole long thing. I will make it as quiet as possible. The last arc deals with how Darth Vader built his castle on Mustafar. The castle, obviously, that we see in Vader Immortal, that we first saw in Rogue One. And it goes into why he chose Mustafar and kind of what the point of the castle is.
The point of the castle is that Anakin Skywalker needs space therapy.
Yeah, Anakin
Also,
Skywalker's...
he's very extra.
Correct.
His extra is undefeated, as we know from pretty much everything that Anakin Skywalker has ever been in. But basically, he is obsessed with the idea of bringing Padme back from the dead, and he can feel an incredibly strong connection to the Force on Mustafar, and specifically in one specific cave under his castle in Mustafar.
It's a well of
it's
dark
kind of like a
side.
well or a locus of
So-
some sort of the dark side.
Well,
What do you
yeah,
s-
that's where he got his fucking arms and legs chopped off by his best friend. He'll go build a castle there, but he won't
Yeah.
go back to Tatooine.
I mean, there's no sand on Mustafar.
It's true.
That's true. It's all burned
Just
away.
flames.
Would you say that the evil bad location under his castle is sort of analogous to, like, for example, the Force cave on Dagobah?
Yeah.
Ish. Yeah. Okay.
Ish. I think it's stronger.
Right.
I think the implication is it is like a not very often found around the galaxy
Right.
situation.
Or what about the one on
I kind of related to the
Octo?
one on Mortis. Oh, on Octo potentially too.
Okay.
But anyway, so it's an incredibly strong locus of the dark side. So Anakin tries to use this connection to the dark side and build a castle that essentially acts as kind of like a lightning rod for the Force, is it, for lack of a better term, to
Okay.
harness the Force, open a door to the netherworld of the Force, as Yoda calls it. We don't really have a term for Force heaven or Force hell,
But
try
Chris,
and go
is
get
it,
Padme.
Is it the world between worlds?
Undetermined. Honestly.
Ooh.
It's not super clear because it's not a physical place, which the world between worlds is neither. It doesn't look the same, but that doesn't mean it's not.
Huh.
Anyway, many things happen. He fights some dude. Lava ensues, but he gets this portal open, and he goes and he kind of goes on this bizarre spirit walk where it's just his spirit, the Force inside him, walks through and sees all the terrible things he's done, sees everybody he's ever known.
That's the most incredible issue, by the way.
It's really good. It's issue 25, and
It's
you should all read it.
the comics version of a silent movie.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
And anyway, he finds Padme, but because the dark side of the Force takes away from you, he is not able to bring Padme back. She dies again, he watches her die again, and then he is stuck. And that kind of is a turning point moment for him of kind of realizing that he is no longer Anakin Skywalker. He is now Darth Vader, and this is the life that he now has to live. Fast forward, undetermined amount of time, but it is relatively soon after this, to Vader Immortal. And the kind of plot running here is that Darth Vader is trying to use an ancient artifact of Mustafar to bring Padme back to life.
Wait, so he's trying again?
Yes.
Okay, I had thought, because I haven't read the comics for, I hate racist reasons, I had thought that what was happening in Vader Immortal was tangled up with the storylines of the comics. Like,
no.
Oh, okay. This is news to me.
It is different. It's unclear
Okay.
what role the dark side of the Force is playing in the Eon engine, which is what this artifact that Vader is trying to recreate is called.
The big sparkly rock thing?
The big sparkly rock thing. Exactly. So it's unclear what the connection is. I assume there is a connection because in Vader Immortal, you go into the caverns below Vader's castle, and they've excavated an entire civilization down there.
There's lots of sparkly rocks.
Lots of sparkly rocks.
So many.
Um,
Don't be fooled. By
so
the
anyway,
rocks that he's got.
Long story short, he is still trying to bring Padme back.
Does he know that's not going to work?
Probably on some level.
I feel like he doesn't. Like, I mean,
Yeah,
I feel like
he
he
is
does,
dumb.
but he's also kind of a dum-dum. Like,
It's
Anakin was never... He's very talented and powerful. Never the brightest
It's true.
bulb in
Just-
the bunch.
Brute force in his way through everything. Wait, Chris, so around when do we estimate in the larger Star Wars timeline is Episode 1 of Vader Immortal happening?
I would say... Yeah, it's hard to tell because it's very vague.
Right. I think it's purposefully
It's
vague.
intentionally vague because, we've talked about this on this podcast. They don't like assigning specific dates to everything because then it just gets really hard and really tangled, and they like to keep things vague where they can.
I also think it's an accessibility thing, but we can talk about that a little bit later in the
Yeah.
episode. But go on.
That said, I think one would be led to believe that the comic, that arc of the comic takes place about 2 years after the rise of the Empire. And I would guess that Vader Immortal takes place 2 to 3 years after that. So that would put us at 15 to 14 years before the Battle of Yavin.
Okay.
So probably a little bit before A New Dawn.
Mm-hmm.
Probably right around the time Thrawn joined the Empire, maybe.
Okay.
Just to get, not that has any relevance, just to give context to what's happening in the galaxy right now.
Oh, that's good. I like that. It's like when you learn about world history and nobody tells you that stuff in different regions is happening at the same time. They just focus on like fucking Europe, and it's just like China's also doing shit too, but you would have no idea because our education system is bad.
Yeah, exactly. Like Han's probably like 15-ish right now.
Okay.
White supremacy in my American educational system?
Never heard of it.
A pow. Pow.
So that's where we are right now. Again, that's a vague guess. They have not said exactly when Vader Immortal takes place, other than it is relatively soon after the comic. I'm estimating 2 to 3 years because the comic doesn't have any of the excavation.
Yeah, it takes a while to dig shit up, I assume.
One thing that's interesting is that they use an interdictor to pull you out of hyperspace at the beginning. And
Can you explain what that is?
yeah, so that's the
It's the big ship with the underboobs.
It's the little like boob things on the bottom of they're generally not Star Destroyers, but they're like cruisers.
I'm just picturing a cow floating through space right
Yes.
now, like a
That's-
very big cow.
Yeah.
What it looked like to me, I like looked up and it was just like, oh, why are there teats on this bitch?
Well, and the reason that's a little weird is because we see the gravity wells in those interdictors being tested in Rebels Season 1, which is 5 years before the Battle of Yavin. So that's why it's also a little unclear. Now, they've said that this takes place close to the comic, so I'm willing to chalk that up to Vader had a special prototype of it. It's been improved since then, and they're running tests on the one that is like more applicable. Any number of different reasons.
Such as they done fucked up.
But,
Such as they done fucked up.
Yeah, such as they potentially done fucked up.
That's
yes.
all right.
such as plot reasons.
It
Nothing's ever happened in the Star Wars universe for plot reasons, as we know.
So before we dive into talking a little bit about the story and its connections, I have a vaguely related aside, which is so Chris has met Charles Soule like one time, and it was the most adorable thing ever because Charles Soule came to AwesomeCon in DC, and he had a booth set up where he was like, selling his comics, and he was signing them and stuff. And Chris spent about 10 minutes walking the exhibit floor because I told him he should go say hi because he's such a big fucking fan of Charles Soule's Darth Vader run, except he was too nervous, so he kept walking. So we would do a lap and come back to like nearish Charles Soule's table and be like, all right, you want to say hi to him now? And he's like, let's just do another lap. And we did that like several many times.
Yeah, it was awkward.
That's a big, like, I'm not gonna pretend like I haven't done that at like,
oh yeah, it was just adorable.
Student org fairs, but other places probably.
Job fair, yeah, totally. No, I have absolutely done that. It was just really, really adorable because when I finally walked up to him, Chris was like breathing into a bag stash, and Charles Soule's like a very nice, very super normal guy who's just like, very appreciative, like people liking his comics, just trying to make a buck, like any artist, like it was like he was like super super down to earth and awesome, and Chris was just like, oh my god, 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 and it was adorable.
Basically.
Because if you haven't met Chris, he's 6'2" and is actually a soft loaf of bread deep down in his heart. So
he's a big soft boy.
It's true. It was amazing. Anyway,
back to Star Wars.
Would you like to talk about?
That wasn't not Star Wars.
It's true. It wasn't not Star. Back to in-universe Star Wars.
So, would you like to talk about Vader / Anakin's extrosity?
He's so fucking needy. Just
like, besides the fact that this is the first time we've well, obviously we get shots of it in Rogue One, but this is like we actually get to walk around Vader's castle in this thing. It is ginormous. It is pointy. Like, you said I think the way you put it was really excellent. That he is trying to make a lightning rod for the Force, but he could have just built a lightning rod. He didn't need to build a whole house with like.
Or he could build.
That's
house
actually
that's
gone
made
into
of
in
several lightning rods.
That's gone into in the comic. Actually, this is actually version 9
of the castle.
Yeah, he blew up the first 8 because they didn't work.
Excuse me?
Yeah, it's a whole thing. It's a whole thing.
Oh my fucking god. Chris, I'm just gonna let you talk while I just like scream into a bag for a little bit.
So as you can tell by the fact that he built not 1, not 2, but 9 castles on this fucking lava planet, Anakin / Vader is still he's understanding who he is now and that he is no longer Anakin Skywalker, but he's still not really accepting it. Like, there's the moment in the comic where he starts to accept it, but it's Anakin. And we know that he has trouble with, like,
life?
Object permanence. So,
oh my god.
Like, when he's not immediately, like, sad about something, he goes back to being Anakin and is like, what if somebody hugs me again?
Oh my god.
So this constant need for companionship obviously is still impacting him as he is still, presumably 4 or 5 years after her death, trying to bring Padme back and thinking presumably that will somehow redeem him and erase everything he's done. And there's actually a scene in there's actually a scene in sorry, I just completely lost my train of thought, in Vader Immortal, where he takes his helmet off and like talks to the rock that's part of the Eon engine. There's the Bright Star. No, he needs the Bright Star. He talks to the Eon. I don't know. There's a lot of terms. Kristen would not remember any of this. But he's like talking to the thing, and he like kind of hears Padme's voice.
Yeah, you kind of see a shadow of her like talking to him.
Yeah, like it's kind of like it's almost like if this thing had more power, it would actually work. Which, who knows, maybe it would. Spoiler
just,
alert,
like,
I'm
force
guessing
lightning
Padme
it?
does not come back from the dead at the end. Huh?
Can't he just like force lightning the
I don't think it's that kind of power.
the force
Well,
button and
The force
then
button.
is it a I don't remember, man.
Where's the on switch for this thing?
Yeah. But so we
a
so we
big
like
red button.
we hear Padme's voice, and Anakin actually takes his helmet off, and I kind of assume it's Matt Lanter voicing him.
Yeah, but
But,
we
like-
get the whole egghead thing happening.
Yeah, like you see the back of his head. He's very much got burned Anakin going on,
Delicious.
and it's and he's basically like trying to talk to Padme and tell her that he is coming for her, and then he loses connection and he loses cable reception, and then he freaks out and blows things up, essentially, like
Because-
classic Anakin.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I do when I lose internet, so I get it.
Also, yeah, honestly, yeah.
Wait, Chris, is it Matt Lanter? Was Matt Lanter said to be in this?
I have no idea. I don't know if he's credited, but it sounded like Matt Lanter.
I'm gonna have to like replay Matt Lanter, the voice actor for Anakin from the Clone Wars.
It sounded like him, and I don't know why they wouldn't have used him.
That's true.
That's kind of where I'm at.
He likes money and is Anakin.
Also, like as an aside that
Chris, you are holding the potato and playing with a knob on a drawer at the same time with the same hand.
don't cheat on French fry like that.
Oh my god, his
Oh
name is not
my
French fry.
Yes,
God.
it is.
We had some excellent suggestions from our listeners this week
did
for
I miss
what the
that?
potato's going to be named. It's in the Slack, so
Yeah,
yes, you
Slack.
did.
We
I
will-
was reading the Slack, but maybe that was yesterday.
We will discuss them with Kristen next real episode.
It's
But-
true, we will.
Oh, I
Oh.
see. That's a good one. I still like French fry.
Yes, Miranda.
As a quick aside related to Dooku, that's what we were listening to.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost, I mean, like Anakin is already not good at like feelings and emotions and communication, but it's almost as if living as a Jedi for like 15 years or however long the fuck it is bad because they don't let you have feelings or
What if-
healthy relationships with other beings.
Yeah, no, it's funny how that works. It's funny when you don't learn how to healthily expend your anger, how it just turns into killing young lives.
But like he's consumed by this 5 years later. And like he clearly never learned how to deal with any of that. And I'm not going to pretend like I'm good with dealing with like my very strong feelings, but at a certain point,
Yeah,
he has not accepted this.
absolutely not. Absolutely no. Like the way he clings to the past is sad, but also fascinating to me in terms of like his character. So, Chris, you were literally just talking about how Vader is in the comics is starting to come to accept the fact that he is no longer Anakin Skywalker, except he's always going back to Anakin, just wanting, it almost feels like he still wants to become Anakin even though he feels like he can't, and because he can't, he also wants to like crush that part of himself. Like we saw in Thrawn Alliances, we're flashing back between Anakin in the past as he is like whole and healthy and blowing up mines, and Anakin, and Vader in the present, or the present timeline of that book anyway, where he won't even think about Anakin's name or like think about Anakin as a part of himself. He just calls him the Jedi. But he's so grasping at that. What do you being a great connoisseur of Vader's psyche, what's going on there for you?
There's no question it's partially him. Like, it's partially his personality. He's always been kind of clingy, right? And like he's always wanted to hold on to what he has and not move forward. He's kind of like the opposite of Luke in that way. In an interesting way, because Luke is always, famously looking to the horizon. Whereas Anakin is always looking backward. Like, he wants to go back to his mom. He wants to go back to Padme. He wants to go back to being a Jedi. But also, you have the dark side influence and Palpatine's influence. And I think this is part of how the dark side takes from you. Because, like, that's its thing, right? Like, no matter, it promises you all these things, and then it delivers none of it and takes from you. And that's what it's done for Anakin, because it has taken, not only in a very literal sense, his body, but it's also taken all of his hopes and everything that he actually wanted. And then it keeps giving him these, like, shreds of hope that he can go back to the way it was. But then it's fool's gold. It's not actually true. And so I think that, combined with the relationship where he is just so submissive to and afraid of Palpatine, that he is then like kind of goes through these stages of wanting to not be Vader, but then being really afraid that he's failing, and then like being like, well, no, now I have to do this, and like being very back and forth about it. Like, so he has his, you know, quote unquote strong moments where he understands and wants to move forward as Vader, and you see that at the very end of Soul's comic. You see that in kind of Rogue One, A New Hope. He's very much Vader. You see that in What Am I Thinking of? Thrawn Alliances. But then on the other hand, you have these moments where he kind of wants to go back and like wonders what could have been. And you see that here, and you see that a little bit in the Kieran Gillen original run of the Darth Vader comic, which we talked a little bit about way back on, I want to say episode like 8 or 9.
Yeah, a while ago.
Before we stopped listening to Marvel. And you see it a little bit actually in Lords of the Sith, which we're going to be reading in the nearish future as well.
What, for you guys, like asking you both, as Chris being a huge like Vader Anakin fan, and then Miranda being a huge Padme fan, the fact that he just keeps trying to bring her back, what do you think that says about their relationship, and maybe how it was meant to be written in the prequels versus how it was written?
I think the intention is definitely not how it came across. I mean, I might be wrong. Like, George Lucas might have tried to make it super fucking creepy. But like when I think about this, it's like he was really obsessive, and like that whole relationship was very like toxic and problematic. And I'm pretty sure that if like Padme were aware of like what was happening 5 years on, she'd be like, dude, you need to calm down.
Yes.
Well, because you know, we see at the end of Revenge of the Sith that she's like not into what he's become.
Extremely not into it.
Like super not into it, for good reason. You know, he's turned to the dark side. He's killing younglings. He's fucking choking her on Mustafar using the Force. And I feel like, I mean, he does really just kind of spiral from there. Like, it's 5 years later or whatever we've agreed upon. He's built a castle to mark that general spot on the planet where all the shit went down.
Oh, gosh.
He is trying to bring her back despite having been unsuccessful several times before, including the time that made him turn to the dark side and led to her eventual death because George Lucas didn't know how to write out a character who didn't exist in the original trilogy.
Never heard. This has never happened before in the history of Star Wars.
Like I said, plot reasons. For reasons we can't explain. No, plot reasons.
Yeah.
Uba robot, plot reasons.
Who says no?
Oh my god.
Everyone says no to that.
Oh my god.
It's interesting because I'm sorry.
Does this mean that Chris and I are getting married next?
No.
Okay. That was a weird joke, and it made sense in my head, and then it didn't make sense.
Yeah, I think there was a missed connection there.
Well, it was like, oh, Chris is like Vader, and I'm like Padme, and I was like, oh.
It's funny because Chris is married and you're gay.
Right? I feel like that would work out for none of us.
You don't know that Padme is not gay. Yeah, we do. She's... Yeah.
I mean,
Could be queer.
yeah, could be queer.
Everybody's little space queer.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
No
Accurate.
absolute evidence that she's not queer.
Accurate.
There's one character in all of Star Wars who we have absolute evidence that they are not queer.
Who's that?
It's Leia.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Which is so disappointing.
I know. It's okay. It's okay. She's still Space Mom.
Yeah, she's still Space Mom. She's just straight Space Mom.
Yeah.
Anyway,
can't all be
back to this.
perfect.
It's interesting because I feel like, looking at their relationship and like what it could have been if it had been written differently, I feel like their relationship is very much like he's like just
Why are
just
you
to use
laughing? Oh,
completely inappropriate like analogies
God.
for this. Like
Here he
she
goes.
is absolutely the dom in that relationship and he is the sub.
Oh, yeah.
Why
And-
is that inappropriate?
I
Well,
don't
it's
know.
not inappropriate. One of you said something earlier about Sub or about being afraid of Palpatine or like something about his
Oh, yeah.
relationship. And I
Speaking of
almost,
Sub, yeah.
I almost put that underneath Big Butt Vader. Sorry.
Pretty sure you mean you almost put Big Butt Vader underneath Palpatine.
What you
Anakin's
do in the privacy of your own home.
Anakin's a power bottom. Pass it on. Listen, Darth Twink had to get it from somewhere. Ain't sorry.
But yeah, and so like since George Lucas didn't really know, I'm not an artist. Far be it for me to tell artists how to do their work. That out of the way. Since George Lucas didn't know how to write this relationship in a real way, you kind of have this abusive Anakin who like, I'm so in love with you, like weird creepiness. But like it never really fits. Because like Padme's always kind of the engine that keeps their relationship going. In Attack of the Clones, she's the one who drags him to Tatooine. To Geonosis. In the Clone Wars, she is pretty consistently the one who is always like dragging him places and like making things happen. Like she is, to use a phrase that like is not sexual, but that I hate because it's sexist as hell. Like she wears the pants in that relationship. There's no question about it. And it's just interesting because we don't get any of that in Revenge of the Sith because writing. But I feel like that is the dynamic that we see everywhere else and everywhere beyond where Vader doesn't know who he is without her.
Right. And I mean, we've talked about this on the pod before about how everything he's ever doing is just to get back to Padme, and that's why he is seeking this, twisted though it is, this relationship with Luke. And I just wonder if there will ever be a point in a Star Wars where we see him let go of her in a healthy manner, because like you said, like as written in the prequels, super abusive relationship, and they kind of doubled down on that too in the last season of the Clone Wars, where they almost like break up, like they almost like split up because he's like fucking punching Rush Clovis's lights out in front of her and she's really uncomfortable with it. And then they wind up staying together because
Plot reasons.
Plot reasons.
But it's just it's like every layer that is added to that relationship just makes it more and more and more uncomfortable.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because like you ask if we'll ever see that side of him ever let go of I don't think we will, because I don't think he ever does.
Oh, God, no. Like
It'll be interesting because, and this is not me dropping knowledge, this is me just like completely spitballing. The existence of the world between worlds makes it possible that we may see some sort of alternate timeline at some point. And like maybe we will see an alternate timeline where like Anakin and Padme have an actual healthy relationship. Like, but I don't think in the galaxy as we know it in the canon we're ever going to see that, because I don't think it ever exists. Like, I think the only positive relationship other than his mother that Anakin has ever had is with Luke in the last 2 minutes of his life.
Which, like, yikes.
also deeply problematic.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. And why do you think the rest of the future generations of the Skywalker family are just all fucked up about him? Thanks a lot, bro.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's possible for him to have like a healthy relationship with Padme since he's been obsessed with her since he was like a very small child and like never lets go of it. Like if he's made it that long, there's no way he's going to give that up.
Yeah, no.
That's true. Well, thanks, George Lucas. That's just fucking great.
That's why, like, Attack of the Clones is so hard to watch. Like, honestly, all the prequels, their relationship is really hard for me to watch. But, like, particularly Attack of the Clones, because, like, the whole thing with the prequels, I actually, and we've talked about this in the past, I actually like the prequels for what they are. I get a lot of enjoyment out of watching them. But they're just one big reminder of missed potential.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No,
and
like,
the Anakin-Padme relationship is number one on that list.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like, you guys know, I love Attack of the Clones. But,
yes.
like, especially in the beginning, and it's true for the whole film, but, like, he rose up, he's like, "You're more beautiful than I remember." And she's like, "Okay, nice to see you. It's been however many fucking years." And he's like, "What's up, girl?" And like, he's so fucking creepy. She's like, "I don't like how you're looking at me," and he just keeps doing it, and it's like, oh.
And then 4 days later, they're married.
What if we didn't do this?
I know. I just
Plot reasons.
It's almost like there should have been a woman co-rating the prequels.
No, we don't need that.
It's almost like George Lucas should have sold Star Wars before the prequels. Anyway,
shall we talk about lava?
let's talk about lava.
Woo!
Because one of the really interesting things about Vader Immortal is you learn about the history of Mustafar, or at least the founding myths of Mustafar, and it didn't always suck.
Yeah, no, I was pleasantly surprised. I did not expect that at all, and I was kind of pleasantly surprised just because, I don't know, being a giant Star Wars nerd, like, always be giving me more content and lore that makes the world richer, and I was super not expecting to learn more about Mustafar. I just assumed it would always be just a lava shithole / the resting place of Anakin Skywalker's limbs.
I forgot about this part, so I'm gonna let you guys do this.
Yeah, so basically we see this kind of vision from, you know, the high priestess of the Mustafarians, which, like, I think these are supposed to be different from the little bug thingies that we see in Revenge of the Sith.
No, okay, so there's lava fleas.
No, not the lava fleas, but there's like actual, like, kind of insectoid Mustafarians that we see in Revenge of the Sith and in the Vader comic, and I don't think it's these people.
Really?
Maybe it is. Maybe it's just an artistic take on them to make them look more humanoid.
I don't know. I thought it was supposed to be them. It was my understanding that Mustafar only has one sentient native species.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible. Again, this could just be another thing where one of the downsides to having all these different creators work on it is that you probably get these, like, dude bro types who, like, have a vision of what they want to include, and it doesn't quite fit, and they do it anyway.
So
it could be that.
I mean, to be fair, the CGI in the prequels doesn't look as high tech now as it may have back in the day. But even back in the day, like, I had to watch Revenge of the Sith, I don't know how many times, to realize that the Mustafarians were, like, sentient beings because they're working on the lava and the munitions or whatever the fuck is going on, factory shit going on there. And so they are wearing, like, safety masks, like metal, like, welding masks, basically. I thought they were droids.
Yeah.
Until, like, 3 months ago.
Yeah.
So, who knows what they're supposed to look like.
Anyway, High Priestess of the Mustafarians kind of gives you this vision of the story of Mustafar, which is that it was a beautiful and green and peaceful planet, and it was ruled by this queen, lady, I don't remember her name. I'm pulling a Kristen today.
Corvax or something?
Corvax, Lady Corvax, thank you.
Fired.
I'm not sure if it was ruled by her or she just kind of, like, lived in peace among...
It was like a kind of like benevolent overlord situation.
Well, that's
was kind of how I interpreted it.
Colonialist as hell, because she was definitely human.
Yeah. I mean, she was, because your character is apparently a descendant of hers.
Yep. I'm a people.
Anyway, someone invaded, unclear who. My guess is it was the Sith, but that's neither here nor there. and killed her husband, and she wanted to bring her husband back to life, and in doing so destroyed the planet with this bright star and Eon engine that Vader now wants to use again.
Because she yoinked the heart of the planet, basically.
Yeah.
Was she also born from midichlorians?
Undetermined. Midichlorians are the powerhouse of Mustafar.
Oh my god!
So, and that's how Mustafar turned into a shithole.
Wait.
Because ancient Anakin fucked it up?
Yep, correct.
Yeah.
Ancient
because-
Lady Anakin fucked it way up. Wait. But there's no indication that Lady Corvax was ever successful, right?
No.
Okay. She just yoinked it and no one knows where it is now, or... Oh, wait, it's in... Okay, sorry. Now I remember. So the archaeological, site under Vader's castle was Lady Corvax's castle.
Correct.
And the Bright Star is somewhere in there, probably.
That is the assumption.
Is that why they're digging?
Yes.
Yes.
Cool.
But there's absolutely no indication that what she was doing ever worked. Or...
No, to me, the indication is that she fucked something up, because obviously you went from planet being nice to planet being literal hell.
Great, cool. As an aside here, as we're talking about this, and we're about to, after we talk about this, we're going to talk about our reaction to the VR. The animation on this was gorgeous.
Yes.
Is it ringing a bell for you now, Miranda?
Yeah, I do remember this now that it all sounds vaguely familiar.
Yeah. So it breaks in from, the traditional 3D, whatever the hell we're used to.
Oh, I did just remember it that time. Holy shit.
Wow.
Oh my god.
Is this the part where it gets all weird and trippy?
Yeah, and it gets all swirly.
Yeah. I remember.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it was gorgeous. It's kind of this almost paper, wood cut, cut, I don't know. It looks. This is gonna sound bad, but it kind of looks like a pop-up book. It's really pretty.
No, it does. That's absolutely what it looks like. Kind of like a pop-up book, a mixture of a
2D
pop-up book and
pop-up
almost
book.
like Japanese watercolor.
Yeah,
in a way.
mid 2000s vector art, which was really cool. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
Again,
like a combination of those three things.
all of these things sound really okay. Well, Japanese watercolor does not sound insulting. The other two things sound insulting. It's not. It's really cool looking. And the cool thing about the VR, of course, is that you were kind of immersed. You were just dropped into the middle of a fairy tale book come to life. It was really neat. Anyway, I do want to say it's whether the Sith attacking Mustafar, I wouldn't say is actually neither here nor there, because number one, because of the well of the dark side that the castle is on top of, and Lady Corvax's castle also must have been on top of, if it's under, because
Yeah.
that seems bad. That seems like a problem that she should have known about.
Wait, was
First-
her... Sorry, are you saying that her house was stacked on top of another house, or on top
So,
of the Force Cave?
So I'm saying there's
Probably it's in proximity to the Force Cave.
so there is the Force
see.
Cave, and then next to it is her house, and then on top of everything is Vader's castle 9.0.
Okay.
Because
So
Vader.
dark side pancakes.
Correct.
Yeah.
Great.
And just in case people want to know how I come up with my bizarre theories, the reason I think it's the Sith is because...
Oh, what I was going to say, I was going to point that out, is
Oh, yeah.
because you can see in the animation and in... I think there's a mural or some kind of relief carving at some point in Vader's castle that shows the war between the Mustafarians / Lady Corvax and these invaders. And we know from Dooku, which we just listened to, that the Sith had really creepy, ferocious war beasts, and we see those being ridden.
Or we see some sort of war beasts being ridden.
Yes.
So that's
By
why it's
some
my theory.
Bad boys. Yes.
I just feel like I'm talking so much. Sorry, guys. I kind of liked this bizarre aspect to it. I don't love the extremely video game tropey, you need to find this object that nobody's found in thousands of years. I don't like that.
Or yet again in Star Wars, there's a chosen bloodline sort of thing going on.
Yeah, I don't like that. Honestly, there's a lot of aspects of this plot that I don't like, of the background of this that I don't like. But I do like that we're seeing more of the kind of magic-y side of the Force. And that's something that we haven't seen a ton of outside of Dathomir. And to me, that's really interesting because it creates the possibility that, like, you know, thinking about where Star Wars goes from here and Rey creating the new Jedi or whatever they end up being called, versus like stories that could take place in like completely different systems or completely different galaxies or the unknown regions or whatever. And that's really interesting to me because like it supports the theory that the Force is anything one wants it to be, and it kind of is limited only by your imagination, if that makes sense. Like, you can do whatever you want with the Force, you just need to know what you're doing. And like that is a really interesting concept to me, and I think opens up so much of Star Wars and future storytelling past, and then 10 generations down the line, they were Force pushing each other. You know what I mean?
Definitely. Yeah, I don't have a lot to add to that. Mostly because I think we got hit with kind of an info dump towards the end of this episode of Vader Immortal, and it was definitely a worthwhile experience, but it was so short, and you know the story continues obviously that I want to know more about the Force lore, and we're very clearly going to get it, or at least I hope we are, because if we're not very clearly going to get it, then what the fuck did you do? Yeah, I don't think I have a whole lot to say on this point until we get more of it. So, shall we talk about the actual gameplay?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So, Miranda,
I'm gonna try and talk less now because
Okay.
now that we're past my area of ranting.
So, Miranda, this is the first time you've done VR. I know.
Yes. I didn't know what to expect. I don't think you got the beginning of me doing the VR on video.
I don't think I did. If you're a Tashi Station Patreon, you got a few videos of Miranda and Chris flailing around with the set on.
And you will very shortly get a few videos of Kate flailing around. I just haven't uploaded them.
Nice. But did it feel intuitive to you? Like talk about.
Yeah, you know, I think it was. I think I asked some questions out loud, but like, you know, it kind of was self-explanatory. You know, you walk or do whatever towards things, and you can like jump. And I don't remember. Do they explain part of that to you when you start, or did we just have
no.
to figure it out? Okay. I really liked it. You know, it did feel very immersive, and I was getting very confused because I was just like in y'all's living room.
Yes.
But I was like, I'm on a spaceship.
It's true.
Like trying to move around and like walking into things, and you guys were yelling at me that I was about to walk into the coffee table.
Yes. Which was amazing.
But it was cool. It was a really interesting way to like experience the Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
And I very distinctly remember like when Vader showed up for the first time.
Oh man.
Like, I'm not a tall person.
Yes.
I just remember like Vader shows up and I'm like looking up at him like, oh shit. Because like he like canonically he's a tall boy.
Oh yes.
Right? And
Yes.
like you never really consider it because in fiction, like, oh yeah, you know, they're this tall or this tall. Or even like people in real life, you know, people
For sure.
people that you don't know personally, like actors, politicians, you're like, oh, they're this tall. Or then sometimes you look at they're like, wait, you're like my height or like shorter than I am? And it was kind of that thing, like seeing him, because I've only seen him on a screen. I've only read about him in a book. And then I'm looking up and there's fucking Darth Vader towering above me.
Right.
It's like, I'm a little scared, but also you're a big boy.
Mm-hmm. How did you like playing with the lightsaber?
It was fun.
Yeah.
I don't think I was very good at it. I'm very glad the game didn't let you die.
Yes.
I would not have
Definitely.
made it like very far at all. I really like the stuff at the ship the stuff on the ship at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why. That's most of what I remember.
I think I think because the ship was so colorful, and I don't know. I think it was one of the. I think that was a moment where I really felt like, oh, this is like it dumped me in a Star War.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like I was in a Star War. Also, like, who doesn't want to run around on a smuggler's ship and see all the weird stuff?
Literally all I want to do on Star Wars is just like
I know.
be on a ship flying through the galaxy.
Right?
And
yes.
Also, I think part of the reason is like, if I remember this correctly, when they put you on the ship in the beginning and you start out with the story, like you're at the front of the cockpit area, just like staring out into space, and it's like, what the fuck is this? I was in a living room 10 seconds ago.
Yep. Yeah, no, when it makes the jump to hyperspace, I was just like, ooh.
Yeah, it's super simple, but like I really love the way it started with the like making you jump to hyperspace, because like the like flipping switches and pulling levers is like some of the most intuitive stuff you do the whole game.
That's
experience, whatever.
True, because Miranda, I remember you got a little confused by this, and I got stuck on it for a while. But like, there's the first time you climb a ladder, I could not fucking figure it out. And I was just like, why am I dumb? Why can't I climb this ladder?
And like you figure it out, and
right.
like, you know, you figure out with like all the puzzles and stuff, but like the ship is like from the start, like you're just gonna like, you see switches, you're gonna boop the switches just like you would boop the switches with your real hand.
Right. And also, I mean, like we've seen Han do this a million times. Like,
yeah, that it's just so iconic in Star Wars and like jumping to hyperspace that it's it just feels really cool to like feel like you're doing it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Going back to something you said about how you can't die, I also really appreciated that, because number one, I'm not great at video games because I didn't grow up with them, and also I am a girl and no one tells girls, and by that I mean all the boys who made fun of me because I was bad at video games, no one tells you that you're not just automatically good at video games. You actually, like, it's a skill. It's like, and it's like reflexes and that sort of thing. So, which is all to say, like, this is not, video games are not a thing I'm used to, even though I really enjoy playing them now. And VR certainly was not a thing I was used to, especially with all the hand-to-hand combat stuff. But the fact that they made it impossible to die made it a lot less frustrating for me. Like, there's no, boop, you're back at this fucking checkpoint. And, you know, if the point of VR is to make it immersive, then you want the player to be as least frustrated as possible. Like, obviously, if you die, then you have to respawn, then just jerking you out of the whole thing.
Right. And so I've recently made some progress, and by recently I mean a couple months ago, on the Battlefront 2.
Woo!
But like, I am also not very good at that kind of video game.
Uh-huh.
It gets so frustrating. And it's like, I want to do it because I enjoy Star Wars. I want to know the story. Mm-hmm. But this was just like so much simpler.
Definitely.
Because like those droid guys could kind of attack me and I would still live.
Right.
Which was very convenient.
Yes. Mm-hmm. I think also besides the fact that you're not playing with a traditional like video game controller, you know, it's not like you have to remember what all the buttons do or anything like that. You are, you know, flailing around as you would in that actual situation. One of the other things that I really liked about this was that it was easy for them to make your character first of all, obviously it has to be a first person character because you have a VR headset on. It's obviously you're supposed to be like in there, but also because they were able to do that really easily, the script is written such that it's a super neutral, like blank canvas of a first person character. So like this person has no gender, this person has no race or ethnicity, it's nothing, it's just like you. And I really really liked that. It felt like it could, like, I don't know, like anybody could jump in, obviously, because it was a blank slate, but also, you know, in light of Chris, was it the writer of the upcoming Fallen Order game who
it was the director.
It was the director. So if you
I
had,
think.
okay, well, who some high level creative person working on Fallen Order was giving an interview, and he was asked, after, I don't know if he was asked this question, but he was talking about the main character, White Kanan, whatever the fuck his name is, and he was talking about how they had made the main character like a white dude again, and he said a really idiot thing, which basically amounted to, well, we have Rey, so why do we need more lady characters in Star Wars? Which was...
That game's gonna be so bad,
It's
guys.
gonna be so bad. And, and we were talking on the episodes after Celebration about how it felt like such a huge step back. Even before he said any of this, how it felt like such a huge step back after... having Iden Versio as the main character of Battlefront. And so it was cool and welcome, and I definitely noticed that the main character who is a Star Wars chosen one and a descendant of this like lady with magical powers, like that could be anyone. That was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't even think I noticed that. But now that you mention it, I'm definitely thinking about that, and I don't think there's anything that leads you to believe while you're like interacting with a story that there's any gender, or race, or even species.
No, yeah.
I'm a human playing this, but the character could easily be anything else.
Yeah, totally. Chris, remind me what the name of the robot is?
Zoe 3.
That's right. She only refers to you as Captain. There's no pronouns or anything like that. So I thought that was neat. Chris, I know the droid was not your favorite for a few reasons.
Yeah, so...
And I know it pains you to talk about this.
Well, so I go very back and forth, and we can kind of go into what does this add to the canon overall. I go very back and forth because there were parts of this that I really liked. I like the history of Mustafar. I like the magical angle. I love emo Vader. That's my shit. That's my catnip. But there was a lot of this that I just didn't feel like was particularly well written. A lot of that is just a lot of the plot contrivances around ancient descendants of Lady Corvax. What are the odds?
Right.
Or magical object. It felt kind of juvenile.
Mm-hmm.
And so Zoe 3, for those who have not experienced this, is voiced by Maya Rudolph. And I love me some Maya Rudolph. Maya Rudolph is hysterical.
And she absolutely deserves to be in a Star Wars. However,
I would like to put her in a different Star Wars, because this just really kind of reeked of, we're going to write you random lines and you have no idea what you're talking about.
Right, and you could tell that was the case, that they didn't really, coach her through some of these lines, because she was just and this is a nitpicky thing, and I'm gonna sound like a dick, but, I think it does matter for continuity and, immersion's sake, especially because, you're not getting this game unless you're a Star Wars super fan and you have a lot of money, right? So, it's within when you're still on the smuggler's ship, and it's within the first 5 minutes of starting the game, she says Felucia wrong, and I was just like, what?
She says Felucia. She says repulsor lifts wrong. It's very
it was weird.
It's very, you found a famous person and put lines in front of them and they read them, which is I don't blame Maya Rudolph for this.
No, I don't blame her
Get
at
that
all.
Star Wars money.
Yeah.
It's frustrating to me that there wasn't more coaching happening. And also I don't know, it was very, and I kind of worried about this when they announced her, because I'm just always worried whenever they announce famous people in Star Wars, because that's just something that worries me, which is not entirely founded, and that's more just a personal thing. But also they did some interview, I think during or after Celebration, where they're talking about how funny Maya Rudolph was, and how she ad-libbed some of the stuff, and it was so funny. And one of the things she ad-libbed was a line where Zoe's I was not programmed for this. I'm pretty sure every droid character in every science fiction franchise in the last 50 years has made that joke. And again, I don't blame Maya Rudolph for that. I blame lazy writing.
Yeah, no, and it pains me that,
Or not lazy, bad writing.
it pains me that bugged me because like there are not enough ladies in Star Wars. Like she's only like the second lady droid that we've seen on screen in a Star Wars, and like for Christ's sakes, there's not enough black people in Star Wars. God knows. So it just everything about it just makes me want to bang my head on a table. It was just frustrating.
Yeah, it just feels like a waste.
I know, and it's not her fault because like when you can't just drop somebody in a Star Wars and expect them to know what the fuck is going on.
I mean, sure you can. That's how you end up with Beckett.
Blah, blah, blah.
Sorry, people know my feelings on Woody Harrelson.
Right.
Solo.
Okay, but
that's what it felt like, though. Like that's
it's true. And also, like what we got out of Woody Harrelson was Woody Harrelson. What we could have gotten out of Maya Rudolph could have been extraordinary.
So good.
That's true. I believe that Woody Harrelson performed at the peak of his capabilities for that role.
They should have cast Maya Rudolph as Beckett.
Oh my god, that would have been so much better.
That actually would have been excellent.
I will not be taking questions.
Can we could have had black lesbians and
make Solo 2 happen with Maya Rudolph.
Yeah, no, like it would have been perfect.
But yeah, like and you're exactly right, Kate. Like me shitting on Woody Harrelson and his performance in Star Wars is not the same as how I feel about Maya Rudolph, because I think that Woody Harrelson did the best he could. I think that's just who he is as an actor. I think had they given Maya Rudolph more preparation and more of a, like, and not even more of a role, but just like better writing to work with.
No, it was clearly,
there's no reason she couldn't have done better.
And it's clearly she was interested in the material because she sounded like she was having fun. You can tell when somebody sounds like they're having fun when they're doing voice acting, you know?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It's a shame. It's a shame. Going back also, so we were going to talk about accessibility, and well, there are, I guess, a few things to unpack under this topic. The first one is that, like, I understand, Chris, your frustration with, you know, the many tropes that the storyline is using, but I really think that since this is probably going to be a lot of people's first, like, entree into VR, because a lot of people have no reason to want to play a VR game, and like, except for the fact that, like, this is such a huge franchise, there's so many Star Wars nerds, like, they want the whole story, like, for all the same reasons that you wanted to play this thing. Because otherwise, why the fuck would we have gotten a VR headset, right? I think that having people translate themselves, or, like, their gameplay style, or whatever the hell, like, their, like, entertainment experience into a VR experience, there needs to be something familiar about it, because you're already so fucking disoriented.
Yes, that's fair. For me, it's going to be... I think the key for me is going to be episodes, not just episodes 2 and 3, but also where they take Star Wars VR in the future, because this was very clearly a jumping off point. This was proof of concept.
Absolutely.
And that's why they, like, emphasize lightsaber contact, right? Because, like, when you think, if you could be in a Star Wars for a day, what do you want to do? I want to swing a lightsaber. Like, that's every kid's dream.
Right.
So, like, I will be very interested to see what they do with it going forward, and if this was just, like, to get people settled and it does go off into really impressive and cool things in the future, then I will shut up, and this will be the beginning, and nobody will worry about it.
Mm-hmm. Right. And
but
sorry,
go ahead. I was just gonna say, like, in terms of, like, the plot and stuff, there was nothing in the plot of this by itself that needed to be VR. There was nothing that couldn't have been a video game. Like, it felt like you were doing a fetch quest.
Right.
To me. And that to me was the frustrating part, because you have this new medium that you can use in all these new and different ways. And aside from swinging a lightsaber, you're not.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm just going to kickflip off of that point and reiterate a point that I know I just made while we were discussing Dooku. And, like, I agree with you. Like, this could have been a video game. Is this the best use of VR? Maybe not. I say this as somebody who has never done VR except that half hour doing this game. But, you know, when we were talking about Dooku Jedi Lost, I said, well, yeah, like, it has to move fast. It has to, like, kind of have this almost episodic nature to keep you in and, like, keep you going. You can't do Empire's End as an audiobook because it's fucking boring. And I think the same thing really applies here. Like, this is the first time, like you said, that they're doing this. It is proof of concept. You know, if they had done something more complicated or more in depth, I think it would have been a lot harder to kind of get people to get on board with this new medium. And, you know, like you said, everybody wants to swing a lightsaber. That's a really easy thing to, you know, kind of advertise to get people to buy this and to like try to experience this for the first time. Or in general, if they already fucking have a VR system. I don't know y'all's lives. But, you know, we may not be completely satisfied with the story, but on a certain level, I do think it's necessary because it is the proof of concept.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And Miranda, I know this was your first time with VR. Chris, this was your first time with VR as well,
It was,
right?
yes.
Okay, so we have the Oculus Quest,
yes,
and the Rift was the one that came before that, right?
Yes, the Rift is the one that is the headset, but it has to plug into a computer.
Okay,
the Quest is standalone.
So, I think besides Chris flailing around testing out the Vader Immortal demo at Celebration, I think I'm the only person who's actually played around with VR before doing the Star Wars. And that's because we had a Rift at my old job. I don't know why. We never used it, except for it was like me and my friend dicking around, like my friend who was the marketing guy fucking dicking around with it because we didn't want to do work. And, you know, I think there's a lot to be said definitely for the fact that, you know, the VR has a lot of potential and we wanted to see a little bit more of that shown off in episode 1 of Vader Immortal. But I think part of the problem is that people are still figuring out what that potential is because VR is still relatively new. And, you know, when I was playing around with the Rift at work, part of it was it had a bunch of demos of like other random stuff. And it was just like, you know, it all looked really cool, but it was all like juvenile stuff like you're riding a roller coaster or, you know, and don't get me wrong, it was really cool. It was like you are swimming around in like in like a blood vessel or whatever the fuck. But it was like really like basic stuff like that. So honestly, like playing Vader Immortal, like it was that for me was definitely shown me that people's idea of what VR can do has definitely like come a long way, because when I was fucking around with that thing, that was maybe like 2 years ago even, and the graphics were great and it was fun, but I also wanted to bomb and I was going in one direction only.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we have to keep in mind the fact that this is still a growing medium, and that is definitely reflected in the price of the headset.
Yeah.
The other thing that we want to talk about definitely was that, you know, obviously this is fun and it adds a lot to the Star Wars lore, but it also can't get too deep and crazy into like main parts of Star Wars because, let's face it, a lot of people are not going to be able to play this thing.
Yeah, and I mean, the accessibility concern is a real one, and I think it's a real one for all aspects of Star Wars because, and this is actually, I was really excited to see if, so San Diego Comic-Con was about a week ago as we record this, and Del Rey announced that they are going to be coming out with a print version of the script of Dooku Jedi Lost. And to me, that's important because, like, you know, we've seen people on Star Wars Twitter who are like, I'm deaf or I'm hard of hearing, and so, like, this seems awesome and I love the concept, but I can't experience it. Like, I just physically can't. And to me, like, you know, there's accessibility concerns in everything. Like there are going to be some people who just can't experience some things, but you want to try to make everything accessible to as many people as possible. And I do worry about the accessibility of VR, both from a financial standpoint and from a physical standpoint, because I wonder what the experience is like for somebody who is, you know, mobilely impaired in a wheelchair, for example. So that is one concern. I will also say that I completely agree with y'all. And it's funny, I'm being actually very negative on this right now. I'm not negative on the experience. I actually like fucking loved it. And I think it is indescribable how it feels to actually be in Star Wars via this VR. And it's like us talking about it just really doesn't do it justice. And I think that the potential is absolutely endless with what they could do with this technology going forward. I'm nervous more because of the creators involved and the EA dude recently leaving a really bad taste in my mouth about technology developers. But I think the technology is incredible. And I think this specific Vader Immortal experience is actually a lot of fun. And if you have an opportunity to play it, you should. So it's funny. I'm like being very negative, but like I wrote a review of it for Tashi Station and I was not negative at all.
Miranda, you were going to say something.
Oh, yeah. Chris was talking about the accessibility for VR, and I was just going to make the point that, like, that's a very valid point. You know, like, with Dooku Jedi Lost, it's an audiobook, but, like, it's still, like, they're coming out with the text of it. Like, there's a way to make it more accessible. They can put that out in print, so that people who may not necessarily be able to hear it can read it. But I don't think that's something that would translate for this experience. Mm-hmm. Like if you
absolutely,
we can print the script. Like you can probably publish it as like a short story or something, but it's not going to be the same. Like you're not getting the same out of it because, you know, for all intents and purposes, like you can listen to a book, you can read a book. It's the same. Maybe if you listen to the book, you get some sound effects or whatever. But This is just such like it's an all-encompassing experience that like if you can't, you know, experience all of those, there's no other way to really explain what it's like.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's as good a place to end it as any.
Well, we didn't talk about what we want out of episode 2.
Oh, yeah, I guess we skipped that. All right, what do y'all want to see out of episode 2?
I want to see myself coming to Colorado to participate
Hell yeah.
in episode 2.
I like it. I like it a lot.
Theoretically, so they've said that episodes 2 and 3 are coming out this year. If that's the case, then episode 2 has to come out in the next couple months. So, we'll see.
So yeah, come hang. I want Weird Force shit. I always want Weird Force shit. As y'all know, if you've been listening to this podcast for a while, we definitely got a little bit of it in episode 1, but I just let me do weird things.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, so they've said that where episode 1 was all about the lightsaber combat, episode 2 is all about using the Force.
Fuck yes.
So we are getting that. For me, I'm very excited for using the Force, and I want to see how they do it because I could see it being very contrived and I could see it being really immersive, and I'd be interested to see how they do it. Mm-hmm. I want to know more about the plot and about what we're trying to do because it's me, and I just got done saying that I felt that aspects of this plot were childish. But, you know, and I think most of all, I want to see it be a unique experience in and of itself in all aspects. And I don't even know that I necessarily know what that means. Like, I don't know what I'm looking for. And I think that's part of the like inherent difficulty with this medium is that none of us have ever done it before. So we don't know what we want, and neither do the developers. Mm-hmm. But I want to be immersed, but I also want to be surprised, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. I do have a real answer now that I'm thinking about it.
Yes.
Mostly because I don't know anything about episode 2. I've not read anything about it, so feel free to yell at me. I wanna see like the setting of it. Like I don't know if it's still gonna be on Mustafar. If it is, I want to see more of Mustafar. If it's not, I want to see more of some other shit because there's obviously a very real difference between seeing Mustafar on the screen in Revenge of the Sith, Rogue One, all of that. Just like those little glimpses and like being able to feel like you're interacting with it and traveling around even if it's just this castle. So that was a really
definitely
cool thing that I like to see kind of extended into future episodes for this is new locations.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, hopefully we'll find out in the next couple months, and then we'll come back and do another bonus ep.
Exactly. I also want to know more about, like, what does it mean when one has a latent force ability? Like, we haven't seen that in Star Wars either. I don't think.
Yeah, I wonder if they're going to explain that past, you can use the force now.
I know, like, I was just like...
Again, writing. We'll see.
I have
KK.
I have jokes about that, but I'm going to keep them to myself.
Oh boy, let's wrap this up before those come out. Thank you for listening to this very special bonus episode of the Book Wars Pod. Next episode, I believe this is going to air in between Dooku Jedi Lost and Master and Apprentice. If that's the case, then next episode we're going to be talking about Master and Apprentice, the start of the book through chapter 11. In the meantime, hit us up as always on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and Tumblr at BookWarsPod. BookWarsPod@gmail.com if you want to email us. And rate, review, and subscribe to us and the Tashi Station Radio Mega Feed through Apple Podcasts, through Stitcher, through wherever you get your podcasts. It really does help people discover the show and help us reach more listeners. If you are so inclined, please donate to the Tashi Station Radio Patreon and to get exclusive videos of myself, Miranda, and Kate flailing around with a big headset on, as well as giving us coffee at ko-fi.com/bookwarspod. Our theme song is Whiz Bang by Poddington Bear. Our logo and artwork are by Joe Butera Design. Thank you so much for listening to the Book Wars Pod. For Kate and Miranda, I'm Chris, and we will talk to you whenever our next episode comes out. I don't know if it will be a week.
Pow pow. It's about being gay is my...
Correct.
It's the
Yes.
latent powers there.
Yes.
Yes, it's true.